Afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Axminster Tools. We're doing our woodworking wisdom today. Really quick and easy one for you today. We're doing these kind of funky shaped vases. We've called them Nordic style vases because I had a little search around on the internet for these types, and they were always labeled Nordic for some reason. But these are just funny shaped vases. Excuse me if I got that expression wrong. So, but yeah, we're doing some kind of some vases like these. Really nice and simple. These are quick and easy. These are your kind of dried flower vases. But you could put like a little test tube in there, get the right size drill bit and drill that in, and put a test tube in there if you wanted like fresh stems, mostly kind of single stem ones. But yeah, lots of ideas, lots of different shapes you can do, and we're just going to talk through that a little bit today, and just make some vases. First thing we want to do is get our bit of wood, and I've got a bit over here. This is just a piece of beech. It's rock hard, but the tools that we're going to be using are kind of like abrasive tools, so they're going to like cut this really easily. If you've got a selection of hand tools and stuff, you might want something a little bit kind of softer, something easier to work, especially if you're hand carving. But we're using the power tools all the way today to make a nice, quick little vase. All right. So if you've got any Christmas presents outstanding, you're not sure what to make people, 20 minutes or half an hour, and you can have yourself a lovely little kind of weird shaped vase. All right. Okay. So while it's square like this, while it's still pretty stable, I'm going to just drill a hole in the top here. And I've got a 15mm FORSTNER bit. Like I say, if you want to put a test tube in here to carry some water or something like that, just work out the size of your test tube and get the right drill bit to suit. So just over here on the pillar drill, we've not got a camera right close on it, but I've set the depth of this one down to about where are we here, 50mm, so it's going to go a couple of inches deep. Again, that's pretty much, we're getting to the full travel of our chuck on here. If you did want to go a bit deeper, you could then pop it in the actual hand drill and use that hole as almost like a drill guide, so you kind of almost like you're reaming it out. But you could plunge a bit deeper to get that extra depth for your test tubes. Like I say, these are going to be dry ones, so I'm just going to quickly whiz this. I feel nice and stable on the table here. There's no rocking. It's got a nice flat bottom. If you wanted a bit of extra support, you could have a fence at the back here, or potentially, put a G clamp on there to stop it from twisting. But I'm fairly confident that that's not going to, it's not going to grab. So just on with the pillar drill, and I'm literally eyeballing the center, going down about a third of the way, bringing that drill bit back up just to make sure we're clearing that waste. That's going to stop it from binding and potentially grabbing as well. And that's it. Down to depths. Just knock out the worst of the waste, and then we've got a little hole drilled off center. I'm going to kind of I'm going to cut a bit out on the bandsaw here, just to give it some nice shape, and potentially a little bit out the bottom as well. So yeah, drilled our little hole. Let's pop this on the bandsaw and make a cut. So remember, we've got our kind of our hole here. Let's go on to our camera 3 there. So we've got our hole drilled. So we can cut around that. You can imagine that hole kind of extending down into there. So that's the only bit we need to avoid. Or you could make a feature of it. You could drill some holes along the length of where that hole in the top is that intersect it. And then you get to see all the like the stems of the flowers and things like that. That can look quite cool. But like I say, just going to do a couple of quick cuts on the bandsaw. I'm going to whack the extractor on. I've still got my goggles on. on with the bandsaw. And I think I'm going to start on the foot end. And just gently cut into there. We've got a nice new blade on our bandsaw. And I'm going for quite an organic shape, like a nice curved shape. Our guides are nice and placed down to the workpiece, supporting that blade. Making a bit of a wrinkle. Just going to take a little bit more off. A little sliver. I'm going to follow that same line now. So getting a bit close to the blade with this hand now. So I'm pulling with that one. I can switch my hand position out onto here, or just use a push string. So removing the waste from the back of the blade. So we've got this nice kind of, you know, like almost like half a bottle shape, or you know, pinch in for an hourglass if you wanted to do that. I'm just going to take a bit out of the foot here. So just gently twisting as I feed it onto the blade. Not twisting too much because we don't want the back of the blade to start rubbing and slowing the bandsaw down. I'll bring it around as much as I can. It's quite a tight radius. This time I'm pivoting, I'm feeding it on with this hand. This hand's pretty much holding the project down onto the bed. And that gives me that pivot point so I can get that nice kind of constant curve coming around. So, let that extractor off. And we've got a kind of, well, the guy said they look like decapitated giraffes. But I quite like the shape. It reminds me of an old wonky grandfather clock or something like that. Okay, so we've got a question.
Yeah, hi Ben. Hi everybody. So one question was what the blade size you were using in there.
Yeah,
please.
So this is 3/8 6, so 3/8 in width, and then 6 TPI, so 6 teeth per inch. Okay, so I call it 3/8 6, and then the length will just depend on whatever bandsaw you got. All right.
So
nice, and so it's a kind of, you know, the 1/2 inch I would say is the kind of best of both worlds. You know, so you can do your straight cuts and your kind of, you know, as long as it's not got too tight a radius, you can cut nice big bowl blanks and stuff like that. So your kind of 1/2 inch is the workhorse that will do everything. This is just slightly smaller. This is 3/8. So this is going to be, you know, a little bit better at coming around those corners, but I'm still going to manage those straight cuts on it. When you start getting down to the quarters in width, that's when they're really for kind of curvy, almost scrolly type work. All right. Okay, I've got to switch this little camera around just a moment, Colin. Sorry, being a pain. Okay, so I think we're good on this one. Now, want to hold this in a vise. There's loads of different ways that you could shape this. My kind of favorite go-to is a power file. I use it a lot for roughing down carvings and stuff. So this is really going to take material away quite quickly. Something else you could use, you know, like a grinder with one of these little saber tooth type burrs on it. That's a really nice tool to use. Again, quite aggressive and will take a lot of material away. You do want to take it slightly easy on these smaller long-necked grinders. You don't want to be taking off lots of material. And if you've got a big bit of carving to do, I would recommend going up to the kind of, 4.5-inch grinders. If you want to take, really sculptural stuff, that's probably a little bit too much for that, that grinder. So we're going to take them nice and easy. Couple of bits we want to just say before I get going, because this is going to be really dusty. Okay, I've got my my air filter here with the vases just stood on top. That's going to do a great job of taking a lot of the airborne dust away. The heavy stuff should kind of just fall and settle on the floor. But I'm going to use my respirator. So I'm going to go offline with the microphone for a little while. And hopefully that air filter is going to take away, the worst of the airborne dust, but definitely have a backup, definitely have a dust mask. Not so good with me with the beard. So I'm using my respirator. Okay, that's going to filter the air and allow me to breathe, so I'm not breathing in all this this horrible wood dust. I can take my goggles off now. I'm going to pop them to one side over here. Have a quick sip of drink. Cups of tea don't go on cast iron tables, so make sure you don't pop it on the table saw or the bandsaw. Find a place on the bench. And you'll have a little ring of rust next time you come to see it. So got my little vase shape in the vise here. And actually, just before I put the respirator on, let's have a little look at some of the hand tools that you could use. Spoke shave is a really useful tool. That could be great for just removing corners. If you want to put like a chamfer on it, if you want that kind of geometric, kind of faceted look, that can be a really nice tool to use. Quite often, the handle will foul, so you can always take the handle off one side to get down a little bit closer. So I'm just putting my thumb up on top here now. If you want to get down in here, mostly, on these VERITAS ones, the handle's removable. Or just, pick it up in the vise so you've got proper access to where you want to get to. So, that can be a nice quick way of putting a chamfer on something. I've got my cabinet scraper somewhere. Let me grab that. Excuse me just for a moment. So you've got a question, Colin?
Yeah, just one from Fuller here. Fuller Blarney's just asking, dust collection. He sees that there's a bag type in the background. What's the size of the bag on that one? So he's going for 2 to 3 microns and a canister filter at the moment. This one is nothing like that fine, is it?
Yeah, no, this is kind of, it's got a filter bag, so where it exhausts, that filters the air, so it exhausts through its bag on top. So let's come on to a bigger camera one here. So the air kind of exhausts out of here, and that's where you get your filtration. Then it drops back down into the bag. I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head how fine that is, but it's more of a kind of general type one. And also it kind of comes up to like a nozzle on top here, just like you'll see in the turning room. We've got one of these, DES we call it, a dust extraction stand, and then a bit of that flexi hose on top. But actually, where you're taking the air from is a very small area, fast flow, but a small area. The air filter is more of a volume thing, so it will kind of it'll be better at taking that airborne dust out there because it's taking a lot of air through it and filtering as it goes, and then pushing out clean air at the back. So something like that. They're usually suspended on the ceilings if you're in a large workshop, but I like to keep mine mobile, and this is the smaller version, so I can bring it in close to where I'm doing, potentially power carving or some of the Arbortex stuff, or even sanding. To be able to move that around the workshop is really useful. I can't find my cabinet scraper, Colin. I've put it down somewhere, and I can't find the thing. So, oh, I've got it. Got it. I put it over the drill press.
That'll be the elf on the shelf sticking it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So, carrying on with the hand tools, you know, that bandsaw blade does give a pretty good finish with a 6 TPI, but it is going to leave those, you know, little kind of scratch marks, if you will, at 90 degrees to the face. So something like a cabinet scraper can be really useful. This would give me a shaving once we get rid of the those bandsaw marks. This will actually cut the timber and give us a really nice little shaving. Got a little bit of a ridge there, which I'll probably sand out using my power file. So I'll probably attack that with the power file first and then come back to scraping. But, you know, this does cut, and you can, if you wanted to put a little chamfer on something, with a little bit of work with that, and that will start knocking the corners over and blend things in really nicely as well. Okay, so no question.
Yeah, Rustic Woody's asking, so any advice on stopping belts breaking on the power file? I guess it's the drive belt and not the sanding belt. I'm only guessing that.
Well, the sanding belt itself, you know, you can do quite a light touch with this. This is 80 grit, so we're not putting too much pressure on. In fact, if you do, it starts to burn. So a nice light touch, allow it to kind of run quite quickly, but just nice and gently. I've never had a drive belt go, but I expect it's kind of asking a little bit too much of the machine, really. Potentially a little bit too much pressure down on the workpiece. This you'll see in a minute. I'm going to be quite floaty with it, and I always say this with the Arbortech, with the turbo plane. You want to go really nice and gentle, unless you're taking away lots of material. That turbo plane will take a lot away. But if you're kind of floating across the surface, you're going to knock off all the high spots first. If you're putting a lot of pressure on, you're going to start to create low and high spots. So really nice and kind of floaty over the surface with this one. Allow the belt to do its thing, that abrasive to take all those little tiny scratches away. But yeah, just maybe a little bit more gentle. We used to run courses, and both this tool and this tool, people tend to lean on them a little bit and just you know, they expecting the machine to kind of tear the material away, but actually that abrasive style of removing material, you don't need that much pressure, and you'll start to clog belts, you'll start to clog rasps, because you're kind of forcing the waste into it. Whereas if you're nice and gentle, it's going to throw the waste away. It hasn't got a chance to kind of get stuck in between the grit and stuff. All right. Okay, so I'm going to pop my respirator on. So I might have to just knock the microphone off a minute, Colin.
I'll do a roll call whilst you're doing that.
Good man, thank you.
Do the register.
Plug myself in, I'll get a bit steamy.
There we are.
Happy we can go there?
Yeah, I can't hear a word you're saying. It's brilliant.
So you'll have to come on camera 3.
Okay.
Let's get in.
Sometimes we get so involved in what we're watching with the other demonstrators that we forget to change cameras or we forget to ask questions. So please excuse me. I'll go through some of you guys that are watching. So we've got Jim Matthews, we've got Chris Boardman, James Pritchard, Robert Richards, Frederick Hocking, Martin Shepherd's there, Maria and Wells, of course. Good to see Maria. Joe Berardino, Fuller Blarney, Wayne Nicholas. Good to see you're starting the table tittles, Wayne. Well done. Robert Bortwood. Robert Richard, I think I said your name before, Robert. Hello again. Actors the sales team. I wonder who you are. I think that's about it for the minute. Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, whatever you want to say. Hope you're getting ready. And keeping warm, the guys in the US and Canada. Looks like we were having a little bit of a colder snap than we were last week. But hi, everybody. This is our last one for this year. So it's nice to end on a live. There's a few more happening between Christmas and New Year, but which are recorded. Yeah, and then we'll be back nice and fresh in the new year, hopefully. Hi Maria, yes, we are here. We're not going to be stopping anytime soon, or certainly not that we know of anyway. We're planning well into the year at the moment, and we're going to be doing a little bit more planning actually, so you'll get to know what we're doing in advance a little bit sooner. So yes, we're definitely here to stay. Rustic Woody was talking about sanding belt earlier, by the way, not the drive belt.
Yeah,
my mistake.
So sanding belt. And another just a little thing I wanted to show you. If I just click this forward, there is a little pad under here, and it prefers to be used kind of in that area. If you put pressure on way back here, there is the chance that it's going to kind of, you know, kind of push up, which is quite nice to give you a softer round, but potentially it could create a bit more wear on the back of the belt here. So just let that right itself. But yeah, try and use this area the most. To be fair, when I'm using it, I'd use the top and this little area to give me the radius. But if we're talking about saving belts, I guess it's got a little sweet spot just around in there. And we've got like a little pad you can just see under the arm there. So I guess using it on that sweet spot and not being too tough with it or to work it too hard. Get a nice, you know, quite a rough grit on it. I'm just going to show this up to camera. I don't know if you can see, I've got almost a chamfer on this side. So I've knocked off that 45, is probably easiest to see on end. So I've got a chamfer this side, runs all the way down, and then a radius on this side. Really nice, soft, gentle radius. And, you know, that's what I love about that, that power file. You can see how it kind of just blends around that corner. You can get a really nice natural curve. And the way we do that is to, you know, when they talk about carvings, we want to come from right back on this face. So almost tipping this up, you know, parallel to that face, and then just running it along, and then slowly bringing the angle back on each pass. And that will give you a really nice little it doesn't take long to get used to either. It's a really nice kind of intuitive tool. You can see the shape that it's cutting, and you can kind of adjust what you're doing to suit that. So really nice kind of intuitive thing to use. I think we could it's a bit square on top, so I think I'm just going to use the belt sander to put a little curve on that, make it a bit more of an interesting shape. Grab me the goggles here. So I think that camera 2 should pick it up, Colin. Let's have a little look there. Yeah, so I'm literally going to just use this belt sander, the belt and disc, and pop my extractor on there. And again, I'm just going to put my finger down and use that as a pivot point. Use the back here as leverage to kind of twist it on the table. So it won't take long. Work on the corners a little bit first so that we can get around to that face. So I'll just put a little curve on top there. All right. So you can see it up against my top. Not really, but I'll put a little curve on. And that's just to give it a little bit more interest. A little bit more shape. But yeah, really, what camera are we on here? Really simple one. Really simple shapes to do. And, you know, I would carry on with that. I've sanded across this face here. So let's go on to our camera 3 and use that cabinet scraper. See if we can get a nice shaving off of it. Going to move that one out of the way.
Sorry, Ben, I was getting distracted. Maria wants you to give us a song before we leave at the end of the day. Yeah, because it's Christmas. A Christmas song, of course.
Oh dear, what can we do? I'm not very good at singing, Maria. That's not my it's not my bag. Cohen's got a voice of an angel. He's like Ella Jones. Dear. So using this scraper, you know, all I've done with this, I've whizzed over it with the power file. That's taken out all those kind of deeper bandsaw marks, and then just getting my thumbs in behind the scraper like this, where the pressure's going to be. It's not going to work if we're just doing that. So grip on the side, thumbs in behind where we're going to make that cut, and then just push it forward, push it through any little lumps and bumps, and that will give you a really nice finish off of this scraper. Going with the grain, you can use it against the grain, but it's going to work a little bit tougher, and you may get a little bit of tear out depending on the timber that you're using. So try and work with the grain, because we cut down into it. This is all going to be end grain here, so we can just smooth across the top. I'll just show that to camera if I can get a bit closer. Really nice finish off of that scraper. And actually, you can see that little radius now on there. So just nice and soft. Not going to take much to kind of blend it into the face. Sometimes with abrasives, you'll get that kind of whiting. But a nice high grit to finish that off. And yeah, we can do a little bit on the base here. Again, let's pop that in upside down. I'm going to use my power file. We didn't actually create too much dust, so I think I'll leave my mic on this time. This will kind of follow a shape a little bit. The trick is to keep it moving. Don't allow it to kind of cut a furrow. Keep it moving. don't hang around too much in one place. So that will do two things. It will create a little burn or a thin line, a bit like we're getting just up in here. So we can just take that back out. And then come in a bit closer, I think, Colin. Oh, sorry, seesawing. How's that? A little bit closer. So again, we just want to lose those BANDSAW marks. We're just doing repeated, gentle. Little. I love this tool. It's a real little time saver. Okay, so got another question.
We got a heap of questions just flown in all of a sudden,
Okay.
so not sure whether we can answer them all. Firstly, where's your Christmas tree, Ben?
Christmas tree is out. It's out there.
That's from Frederick. Fuller Blarney. Does Axminster still sell a? Do we sell a holder for the cabinet scraper?
I think we do a VERITAS one.
It's a VERITAS.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a VERITAS product. Yeah, and it's kind of like a plastic, almost, I wouldn't say ribs, but it's like lots of little lines, and then you just pop it on top of the scraper. A bit of a thumb saver, that one, because you do have to put a bit of effort in, and it can take its toll on your fun if you've got a big project to do. A little bit like this, and they're just fantastic.
Maria's asking what wood you're using.
What wood am I using? I don't know. Let's have a look. So this is beech. So it's got a little bit of kind of spalting to it. Kind of.
That's lovely. That red spalting as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
really nice.
It's almost like the red colour. When you get a bit of oil on this, it's going to look really nice. But yeah, just a bit of beech. Usually tell by the little flecks, but the flecks are almost white in this piece. But yeah, a little bit of spalting, a little bit of rock going on. The ones I did, so these ones, these are from Bay. So we've got, again, quite a nice bit. I'm not sure if that's that was a part of a branch. So it's got slightly different colouring, or it might be a bit spalting as well. Natural edge on these ones, so we left the bark edge on. So the two that kind of sit with it both have a natural edge that sit facing each other, and then on the bigger one we've got a bark edge on the outside. So they look really nice as a little group. My mother-in-law saw the holding image for these on the on Facebook or something. I think she's taken a fancy to them, so sorted for a Christmas.
Christmas sorted. Well fun.
That's right.
Woodwork Learner was just talking about replacement belts for the Black & Decker power file. Are they different sizes, or are there different sizes?
No, these are pretty common size. There are two different power files sort of sizes on the market. There's this one. And I think that we do. I mean, the other one that I know of is the MIG heater one, and it's a lot longer, a lot more expensive product. But I guess you've got that extra bit of material. The build quality is probably a bit better.
What was the grit size, by the way, that we were using there?
80 grit. 80 grit. So quite rough, but it does leave a really good finish. Yeah. So that's 80 grit. So it's try and remove a lot of waste, and actually the higher the grits you go, more burning with it. I don't know if you've experienced that, and if you wanted to kind of blend things on a higher grit, but I would want anything past 120.
And Biff was just saying, would it be good to use a bobbin sander on that process there as well? And I guess pillar drill you could.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know if Jason showed you the scruff ball the other. the other day. I think I've got it on my bench here. You can get it. Sorry, I'm running around the workshop finding things. Little flex pad, scruff ball. These things work really well on the pillar drill, but you could use your bobbins from your bobbin sander on the pillar drill. You know, really easy ways to use these things. This is a little scruff ball. So a bit like a Brillo pad or the top of a washing up sponge. It's just very slightly abrasive. Again, that wax in the pillar drill and is really good for kind of blending curves and stuff. I tried to keep the tools down as much as possible for this one, so it's a quick, quick kind of crafty job. But I want to show you another one that I've done or started on, and I just felt it was a bit too kind of complicated for the end of the day, because there's other machines involved. I use the scroll saw in the middle there, and again, you'll probably want a bobbin sander or one of those little scruff balls to kind of sand inside. But yeah, these ones I like where you drill through and you can see the stems of the flowers. I think that can look really cool. Really nice bit of, that's the same bit of beech actually, a bit more interesting with the spalting on that one. Really nice piece of timber. But I will finish that another time.
So Woodwork Learner, just going back to the power file belts. Woodwork Learner says no, Ben. There are two sizes for power file.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Oh, there two. Do you know about two?
So we're saying there's the Makita one, one that we did.
No, power file. So that one, apparently.
Power file.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Two different lengths.
I don't know whether it's two widths.
I think that, so the arm is a set length, and where it drives at the back, I think that's all fixed. I don't know if you're talking about width or length, but that should be, unless you can get like an extended arm bar like you can for a chainsaw. I'm not too sure about.
We'll wait and see if anything else comes in.
Yeah, okay.
We'll learn it. Fill us in. Let us know what you mean.
Yeah. But fantastic tool. Really underrated in my opinion. And whenever I get it out, Jason always like, oh, the power file. But whatever it takes to get the, whatever it takes to get the job done. And I've seen some really kind of top end carvers using this thing. So, whatever works for you, I say, whatever does the job. And this takes so much time. If I was to hand carve this, you might get those lovely kind of facets working on there. So like reflective in different areas and give it a really interesting texture. But I'm kind of just rounding things in to take off that hard edge and make it look a bit more organic, a bit more natural. But totally, you could do these different styles. You could do geometric ones where we did a chamfer on there, but you could present it at different angles and do lots of little facets, so it looks almost like a kind of, I don't know, like a crystal or something. Like where you get all the different faces showing off. And you could do that on your on the belt sander. Again, just hold it at an angle and just gently feed it on until it sands a flat on it. Turn it a little bit and do another little flat. As long as we're supported by this table and we're not kind of just putting it on up here, you can get a good grip of things and start sanding flats on things, and again making them really interesting. This is just giving you lots of little options if you wanted to have a go at something similar. All right, so another question.
Going back to that belt again. So apparently there was two sizes made. There were an older version of the power file, so they were still available. The older ones very rarely now. So we're getting a little bit of conversation about it now. Rustic Woody saying yes, definitely two sizes of belt are, but very difficult to get smaller ones now.
Oh, really?
So it's a new one on us.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's one of the great things about these.
Probably not so great if you haven't got the old, if you got the older one.
Right,
but,
sure.
Yeah.
But we learn things off of. We use the tools that we have around us, and quite often that tool's doing the perfect job for me. So there's no need for me to kind of go and research different sizes and things. but it's great to know that they're out there. And I'm certainly aware of a bigger Makita one. So whether you know, different manufacturers, they try, if they've got a similar product, to keep things the same lengths, so that they're you know, so that they can sell you their sanding belts or their version of things. But yeah, great little tool, that one. I love it. So I'm just going to do a little bit more blending. Let's have a go with the Proxon one. Let's have a go with our kind of rasp. Let's bring the cable over this way, because although it's not got a cutting edge on it, you can kind of scrape your way through cables and stuff. So Proxon, this is a long neck mini grinder. Really cool to use again, but messy and dusty. So you know, dust masks or something like the respirator. But this is quite a cool tool. This will work right on edge. It's got a bigger flat face. We're on the foot here, so I won't bother messing with the foot, or it will topple over when we get going, when we want to sand it up. But again, really fast working little tool. And like I said, this beach is hard as nails. Quite nice, that long neck gives you kind of access into wherever you wanted to go with it. And sometimes, if one of these tools works faster than the other, just, you know, ripping material off like this, sometimes we'll go from one to the other. So I'll put a little, kind of knock the hard edge off with something like this, and then blend it in with something like the power tool, or you know, go back to your hand tools, or just using a bit of abrasive. Little rocker switch on the back here. Quite often, if you're using these, you know, you can turn them on and off as you're working. What I would say is don't hold it up on the neck here. You've got to allow this to kind of breathe a little bit, and that's its air intake. So it sucks air or pushes air out there. So hold it back on the body and not around the neck here.
Right. Marie is just asking, do the 2-inch Proxon, 2-inch Arbortech blades fit the Proxon?
So there's the little industrial cutter. I wouldn't put so much stress on this type of machine. I would stick with the kind of power carver, or what's it called? They do their own little mini long neck one, which is actually you know, a full size grinder body on it, but it's got like an extension that comes out the front with a drive belt on it. I would say if it's the industrial cutter, I wouldn't put it on this one. It's asking too much of the little grinder. Okay, but cool little tool. The flap discs work really well on this as well. If you're kind of rough shaping things, the little, you know, abrasive flap discs, they work really well. And you can get different grits of these saber-tooth type burrs. There's a red and a yellow and a different color, green, I think, as well. And they've got different different kind of density of the little teeth here. So this one is kind of in between. This will take material away quite quickly. We used to use these a lot on the shaping of the Windsor chairs. You know, after we've Arbortech them or whatever. Okay, but since that turbo plane comes out, it leaves such a good finish. We don't really use it as much anymore. And then, you know, so this kind of shape, you can do whatever shape you want. We're just doing these kind of funny footed shapes like this. Perhaps the material I've used on this one's a little bit chunky. Perhaps if I was to do it again, I would use something a bit thinner. So something like the Bay. It just looks a little bit we look like we've got too much material up on this bit, I think. Unless you've got something that's got some nice big leaves that would kind of you know, kind of mask that big flat area.
Cascade down.
Cascade, that's the word, Colin. Thank you. So something that would cover that top bit. Or we could, you know, we still got a flat face there. We could put that back on the bandsaw and just take a little bit material off either side. Little bit chunky, this one, but you get the idea. We could drill holes down through here. I think that looks really nice when you can see the stem. You can kind of peek through it, potentially do a bigger one and some smaller ones as we come up to the top. But lots of little ideas. You can see the hard edge there where we've kind of put a chamfer that side and then a little kind of radius on this side. So lots of little ideas for you. And a really kind of simple 10-minute, 20-minute project. And these things do look really cool and they're kind of fashionable at the moment. Where can we go on a camera, Colin, that's going to see this all together? You think? Let me pull back on that one and then we can see it. We can see them looking all. Is that kind of all right? So we're not seeing the grasses or anything, but you know, grasses. We've got little wheat sheaths in these types of ones. So we've done some round ones as well with some wheat sheaths in them. That can look really cool. This one I did with a set of kind of little booties that kind of echo the shape that we've got on the round cylinder. All right, so lots of different shapes. Have a little play around. You know, do things the shapes that you want them. Things that maybe are gonna slot in nicely with your stuff at home. But yeah, that's kind of about it, really, Colin. Excuse me.
Maria was still asking about a song, but in fairness to us, we haven't done any vocal warm-ups or anything, have we? So. Right. Maybe next time.
I haven't done my scales yet. But yeah, that's kind of it for this year. Thank you so much to all our regulars for tuning in and supporting us. We get lovely emails. We really love seeing your work. If you get, you know, if you get a chance to take a photo and send them in, we love seeing that stuff, especially stuff, you know, if Colin's turned something and someone's had a go at it. We love seeing all that stuff. So thanks again for all your support this year. I know we've all enjoyed it. And yeah, again, thanks for showing your support and all the likes and all the subscriptions that we've gained through the year. It's been really, you know, really nice for us to receive all that. We've got some pre-recorded videos coming out over Christmas, which we've been working hard on in the last couple of weeks, just to get them filmed and ready for you, so we don't take a break over the Christmas period. But yeah, that's about it, really. Colin, anything you wanted to say before we sign off for 2022?
No, just echo your words. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for this lovely community that's built up, and we obviously we're watching questions as the demonstrators are demonstrating, and it's nice to see the chat and everybody creating this lovely community. So, no, good. Have a lovely Christmas or whatever celebration you're about to do, and yeah, we're going to see you next year.
Yeah, back for more in 2023 with Woodworking Wisdom here at Axminster Tools. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in 2023.